Hi, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I'm Holly. Today we're reading Ghost Stories from Reddit. Let's get into it. Strange things have been happening in my house. A few days ago, I bought a small acrylic figure in the shape of an anime character. I put it directly on the shelf I have, which has manga and books. The next day, I noticed it was on the shelf below where I had put it. I thought it was strange, and I put it back in the same place. I live alone, and I work all day. I ignored it and continued with my life, when the next day I noticed it was on the floor. Again, I picked it up and put it back in its place, and ignored it. After 2 days, I thought it had stopped, but when I woke up to go to work, this appeared next to my pillow, without any explanation. Ooh, I just got a chill. Ooh! Which started to really scare me. So I took it and gave it to a friend of mine to leave at his house. He lives on the same street as me. After 4 days there, I thought it had stopped, but one night when I woke up to get ready, I saw that it was there again, next to my pillow. I got scared, picked it up, took it to work that same day, and threw it in the trash can there. When night came and I went home, I noticed the bathroom light was on. I had turned everything off before leaving. When I went to the kitchen, I saw all the spoons I own scattered on the floor, and it really scared me. Has anyone experienced this before? Oh, I have goosebumps. I don't know if you can see them. There are goosebumps. Has anyone experienced this before or know what it could be? I've never believed in these things, but I'm getting scared. That's a really, really creepy experience. I would throw it in the trash too. Yeet. Last night I heard a raspy, high-pitched voice saying, "Help! Help!" multiple times outside of my bedroom window. The only problem is that my bedroom is on the second floor. At around 1:30 a.m. last night, I was scrolling on my phone, only to be startled by a voice repeatedly saying, "Help! Help!" outside my window. This voice resembled my 8-week-old kitten, but she stays in my sister's room, which is not near mine. It is also not likely that a cat would repeatedly make the same sound 5 times in a row. I quickly dialed my friend, maybe not the best thing to do, and then told them the situation. They didn't take me seriously, so I hung up. I then proceeded to walk downstairs. I turned on the lights. Nothing was down there other than an alive cockroach in my bathroom. Yuck. I have no idea if this voice was in my head or not, and I'm very scared. Does anyone know what I should do? I have not heard the voice since. Ooh, that's creepy. Yeah. Interesting. Something terrifying happened in my childhood home that my entire family witnessed. Any explanations? I've never really told this story online before because I know it sounds unbelievable. But it's something that happened to my family when I was around 6 years old, and I'm genuinely curious what people think. I grew up in the Netherlands. We moved into a fairly new, modern, terraced house when I was about 5 years old. Nothing strange happened at all for around a year and a half. Then seemingly out of nowhere, things started happening. The first thing I remember is having reoccurring dreams that someone was standing outside of my bedroom, watching me through the bedroom door. My room was in the attic, and outside my room was just a small landing with a washing machine and a family computer. My mom always told me I had an overactive imagination. When we started noticing that every morning the washing machine door would be open and the clothes would be scattered across the landing, my mom would also hear footsteps coming from the attic during the night, but every time she checked, I would be fast asleep in bed. One night, my mom woke up and found me downstairs standing in front of the TV, staring at static in what she described as a trance. Looking back, I assumed I must have been sleepwalking. After that, things escalated. The footsteps became much louder. My parents said they sounded like someone was running up and down the stairs at night. Doors would begin to open and close by themselves. The biggest incident happened one night when my parents were both wide awake. They heard the footsteps again, and then their bedroom door started opening and closing. Ooh, I'm getting a chill again. Oh. They immediately ran upstairs, grabbed me from my attic bedroom and my little sister from her room, brought us into their bedroom, and all four of us watched the bedroom door repeatedly swing open and slam shut, while the footsteps continued running up and down the stairs. Creepy! Oh, I have goosebumps again. My dad is a very skeptical, practical person who has never believed in ghosts or anything paranormal, but my mom says he's never forgotten that night because it terrified him too. Eventually, my mom contacted a friend who knew some people interested in the paranormal. They came to the house with what I remember as some sort of triangular device. I was only little, so I don't know exactly what it was. They said there was strong energy, particularly in the attic where my bedroom was. They performed some kind of cleansing or ritual. From that day onwards, everything stopped. No more footsteps, no more doors, no more washing machine incidents, nothing. It's now around 25 years later, and none of us have ever experienced anything like it again. So I have a few questions. Has anyone experienced similar? Is there any logical explanation that could account for all of this, especially multiple people witnessing the same events? If you believe in the paranormal, why would activity suddenly begin after living in the house for 18 months with nothing happening before? Does anyone know what the triangular device they used might have been? I'm genuinely open-minded. I'm not saying this proves ghosts exist. I know memories can become distorted over time. This is how my family remembers it. Weird. Oh my goodness. I would be spooked. Ghost at work? I didn't believe in ghosts until this happened to me. I work at a party center that has 3 levels, a downstairs party room, a ballroom on the main floor, and an upstairs level with balconies where people set up lights and decorations that hang over the ballroom. One night while I was working a party downstairs, my coworker and I took our usual 20-minute lunch break. Since there was no event going on in the ballroom, we decided to sit in there and eat. It was around 9 p.m., and because the ballroom was empty, only a few lights were on. We were just talking and eating like we normally do, when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a woman wearing a plain white dress walk across the upstairs balcony toward my boss's office. I immediately told my coworker, "Shh, listen." We both sat there for a few seconds, but didn't hear anything, so we went upstairs to check. There was no one there. We even went back downstairs to see if anyone at the party was wearing white, but nobody was. Later that night, I told my manager what I had seen, but she just laughed it off. The rest of my shift went by normally, and I went home. A few days later, I came back to work and asked the chef, "Have you ever seen or heard any ghost stories about this place?" He told me the building used to be a mansion where people once lived. Then he said something that gave me chills. I've heard people say they've seen a man in a tuxedo and a woman in a white dress. The moment he said, "a woman in a white dress," I immediately told him what I had seen that night. To this day, I still can't explain it, and nothing has happened since. Ooh. Just in a ballroom eating, see a ghost. When I was a kid, we had a really huge yard, and there was this area of our yard that especially gave me the creeps, and for some reason, I got it in my head that there was a lady in a white gown there. I don't know if I saw her in a dream, if I came up with it, just as children do with their imaginations, but I was terrified of this part of the yard. And some evenings I would have to walk between my grandmother's house and my house, and I'd have to walk past that part of the yard, and I would just keep my head straight down and walk as fast as I could and kind of sing to myself past that part because it gave me the creeps. I was always afraid that if I turned my head, I would see that lady. Ugh, getting a chill talking about it. I got goosebumps again. A strange one. Never shared before. Okay, so I've never shared this until now. A few years back, the first COVID lockdown to be precise, I was living in a rented house, which was a fairly new build, but was built on land that was previously a very old pub. With lots of weird and wonderful stories attached to it, including hidden tunnels that connect into a manor house nearby. Now I am not a paranormal believer. As such, I am one of those types who need solid concrete evidence, but this one still plays on my mind. So the road the house was on was very old Roman road, which is typically very busy. Like I said, it was COVID lockdown, and roughly about 10:30, 11 p.m. I was stood outside the front door, smoking a cigarette. There's a small path to the gate, and then the road. But a large hedge blocks seeing the road. There is no traffic whatsoever. It's eerily quiet. That's the first thing that I noticed. A couple of moments into smoking my cigarette, I noticed a complete drop in temperature, and this horrible sickness, dreaded feeling. Like I had just been given the worst news in the world type of feeling. And then a fog. Literal instant fog. I couldn't see anything other than the lit end of my cigarette. And then I heard it. As real as anything I've ever experienced before, I could hear a horse and a carriage. It started faint. I could hear the labored breathing of the horses. I could hear the hooves hitting the ground. I could hear the wheels of the carriage and the rattling of the metal chains. It was getting closer and closer until it was right there, passing by me. I was frozen. I couldn't move, speak, or even begin to understand what was happening. As it passed, it all just disappeared. The noise, the fog, the sickness, all gone in an instant. I returned into the house, laughed at myself, buried it deep down in my thoughts. But it still bothers me years later. Another short anecdote from this house is my dad was ill just before COVID in December. And he was in a really bad way with it. He slept on a sofa downstairs one night, and in the morning he said he had the scariest hallucination the night before of a woman walking through the wall dressed in a Victorian-era clothing with her head missing. Now, two things, too, that my old man does hallucinate when he's sick. But second thing, the pup was called the Headless Woman. Some of you will know where I'm talking about. I don't. Just strange as hell. He is still adamant he knows what he saw. Ooh. Weird. The fog rolling through and then the horse carriage. That's an experience. Don't fall at the cemetery. This isn't my story, but it's my uncle's. This happened after my great-grandma passed away years ago. After a month or two after she had passed, my uncle decided to visit my great-grandma at her grave and give her flowers. It started to rain once he got there. He spent some time there and finally decided to leave after the rain was coming down hard. As he was leaving, he decided to make a run for it back to his car. My uncle had slipped and fell trying to run to his car. Quickly, he just got up and thought nothing of it and finally made it to his car. He made it home in this heavy rain. His room was in the basement. He still lived with my grandma at the time. The basement had a little living room area. As he walked downstairs, in the corner of the little living room, he saw a boy. The boy was in a fetal position with his head down. My uncle couldn't see his face considering the position the boy was in. My uncle was scared shitless and went to tell my grandma. I'm not sure what happened right after he saw the boy, but my uncle had went back to the grave the next day to see where he had fell. What he saw shocked him to his core. He had slipped and fell above my great-grandma's grave, and above my great-grandma's grave was another grave. The headstone had a picture of the exact boy he saw in the basement. Chills ran down his spine. He learned from this experience to be careful while visiting the dead at the cemetery. Don't fall. Creepy. Creepy, creepy. Paranormal experience as a paramedic. I work as a paramedic, and up until recently, I didn't believe in ghosts or spirits. I got a call at about 10 p.m. at night. Concern for welfare. Happens all the time, usually in warden-controlled properties, as they have falls all the time. My colleague wanted to live stream her kids before bed, so I'd go into the property on my Todd and call her if I needed backup. I knocked on the door, met by an old man who asked why I was there, and said he pressed his care call alarm by accident. I asked if he wanted checking over, to which he responded he had issues with his blood pressure, so may as well while I was there. Directly from the front door was the bedroom. The light was on, and there was a woman sat up in the bed. She looked at me, but didn't say anything. I assumed she had dementia, so I just left her to it. We walked into the lounge, and I did my assessment. After my assessment, we got onto small talk, weather, what he used to do for a living, etc. I then asked him about his wife, how long they had been together. He responded that they had been together for 40 years, before she sadly passed away 4 years ago. I then apologized and said, at least it was nice he had another woman to share his bed with. He then responded back, "What woman? I live here alone." I was like, "So who was that woman in his bed?" He replied, "Fuck if I know, mate." I asked if he could show me a picture of his missus, and I shit you not, there she was, the woman, albeit a little bit younger, in the picture with him. I walked out of the room and looked into the room again. She wasn't there. I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of that house. I then proceeded to be dead silent for the rest of my shift, so much so that my colleague went to management as she thought it was totally out of character that I was suffering with PTSD. She didn't believe me when I told her the story. Creepy stuff. Oh, these were spooky. All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a lovely day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Tell me about your spooky story. Bye!